Hello and welcome to the brand new OnlyFantasy basketball podcast, your source for explicit and uncensored fantasy NBA content. My name's David Scrutton and I'm here with my co-hosts each and every week. Howie.
Hello, everyone.
Nick.
Hey, guys.
And Shan.
What's up? Let's do this.
This is our first ever podcast, but it's our second ever recording because some moron screwed up the audio last week.
Dude.
Don't know who that could have possibly have been.
It was absolute gold.
Always want to fuck it up.
Anyway,
oversight.
we've got a bunch of segments to get into, and kicking things off, we're going to cross over to Shan, aka Tom Brown, at the news desk to catch us up with all the major news, fantasy relevant news for the week, and injuries in the world of fantasy. So Shan, kick us off.
Yeah, thanks, I think. Here we go, yeah. So I'll try to get through this really quickly. Given it's our first podcast for the year, there's obviously a ton of injuries, which we won't have to cover in subsequent weeks. So I'll try to fly through these. And if any of you guys want to tease out any more details, just butt in and do that. So I've tried to present here what I've seen as the most fantasy relevant injuries that I can see at the moment. So you got Miles Turner going down, and he will be back any day, but I kind of thought that was fantasy relevant. So he's supposed to be back within the current 5-game road trip. But I thought that was fantasy relevant because not only are we now seeing Isaiah Jackson play and Goga Bitadze play a few more minutes, but it's also a little bit of a sneak preview of when the inevitable Miles Turner trade happens, what Indiana might be looking like. So pretty relevant injury, I think. And then
Do you know how the injury happened, Shen?
Yeah, stood on a ball boy's ankle, although apparently that rumor is not true. Apparently it was a official courtside. So
yeah.
Much
I
better.
hope the ball
Much
boy's
better.
all right because Miles Turner pretty much shattered his whole body when he did that. So,
Right.
yeah,
It's
I'm
tough.
very happy with him. Toughen up, Miles.
I was sitting there thinking he was a soft cop, but it turned out it's an official, so he's in the clear on the soft. Yeah.
moving on, then we've got Jaren Jackson, who's going to be out for quite a while. His injury is hard to predict. You know, if you want to be really optimistic, he might be back late November, but if you want to be pessimistic, it might be sometime January. He's being Jaren, that is reporting he'll be back sooner than you expect, but he's done that previously and then taken an additional 2 months. So whether you trust that, but that's relevant because we're all seeing Santi Aldama and Brandon Clark, and Aldama is smashing that little battle at the moment. But until Jaren gets back, Aldama should be quite usable.
The rise of Aldama, probably temporary, I imagine, depending on if Jaren Jackson, Mr. Glass, actually kind of makes it onto court. We'll see.
Then we've got LaMelo Ball, obviously out. He's out just for, it's hard to say with a lot of these injuries because, you know, it's always just one local beat reporter's offhand comment where all of these timeframes are based on, but apparently it's a couple of weeks, but that's relevant because Terry Rozier gets a lot more usage without him. But now he's done an injury and left the stadium in a walking boot in the last game. So now it's Dennis Smith Jr. is getting all those opportunities and smashing it. So,
and we'll talk about DSJ and his journey a little later.
We will. Then you got Brandon Ingram, who some are saying is in concussion protocol, but then his coach said today as well that he's not in the concussion protocol. So hard to say. That could be anywhere from 1 to 3 games. And in the meantime, Trey Murphy is looking like a real fantasy player. So that's interesting. Then you got Bogdan Bogdanovic. Not that he'll be some fantastic.
Bojan.
No, I'm talking Bogdan at Atlanta.
Thank you for the clarification.
2 Bog. Yep, double Bog. Not that he's going to be a fantastic fantasy player, but he's a useful fantasy player. But more so without him, Trey and Deontay are just running wild. So it'll be interesting to see the usage when he's back in the fold. Then you got Rob Williams.
I'll get bogged down in it.
Rob Williams of Dave's beloved Celtics is out for somewhere roughly half the season. So we should see in the first half of the season, or however long that is, Al Horford putting up some pretty nifty stats.
Although he's been pants for the first 3 games, so who's to say?
He had a bit of a sore back, but apparently he's back now. And then you've got the Orlando Magic guard situation where, will somebody please stand up? You got Markel Fultz out. You've got Jalen Suggs out. Anyway,
Human Torch time, Shan.
with all those guys out, it is Cole Anthony, who's just chucking the ball at the ring, and he had that opportunity last year, and even when he has that opportunity, he's sort of borderline, sort of usable, but he goes on absolute hot streaks, so he can be usable while that's happening.
True.
And then I've got all those others who are injured, but they're either coming back really soon, or the fantasy relevance of the injuries is either known prior to your draft, like a Middleton. You would have drafted him knowing he was going to be out, and there's nothing really happening in Milwaukee in his stead, unless you want to have a shot on Bobby Portis or Brook Lopez, who are actually playing quite well in his absence. Maybe they'll disappear when.
Great.
Brooks been amazing.
So that's my little update on the injury status.
All right, well, let's get into the meat of the episode. So this first segment we're calling Movers and Fakers, where we discuss players that have made significant moves up or down the fantasy rankings. And given that we've only got data from 3 or 4 games at this point, you can be sure that there are going to be all sorts of overreactions and hot takes flying at you from all angles. So let's start with the positives. Who do we want to go first? Luca is the first on that list. And I think, Howie, he was your nomination. Do you want to give us a bit of a spiel on him?
I nominated Luca, and I interpreted this to be people who are ranking too well, and that rank won't continue, it won't persist. Luca is rocking a much lower turnovers at the moment. He usually is 4+. He's hitting about 3.5 at the moment. His free throws are, of course, through the ceiling. After 3 games have Dallas played, he's usually a 74, 73 type guy. I expect those numbers to ease back to where they were, and he'll drop his rank from what is currently 2 or 3 down to a more Luca-friendly 15 to 25.
Right.
Interesting. I reckon he's got real potential to probably not top 5, but I reckon he's got top 10 kind of likelihood this season. I reckon his free throw percentage is something that is achievable. I mean, probably not 94%, but 90%'s within the realms. I think the turnovers, the thing is probably that's actually going to blow up. But yeah, I do think he's overranked as well.
90%. He's going to go up 16% in a year. He's going to go from bog average free throw to one of the best free throw shooters in the league.
Look, I'm not going to quite come along with Nick all the way on that. That's but I do think, I mean, he's obviously got a very nice mid-range game, a nice feathery touch on his jumper. I think he seems to be one of those guys who's a little bit up in his head about his free throw percentage. He's had stretches where he's shot it really well. I think that is the potential for ranking improvement in his game.
He certainly gets enough attempts, so he's going at 9.
I mean, he's one of those guys that his volumes are so significant that it wouldn't take a overly significant improvement in his free throw percentage for him to shoot up the ranks, I believe.
Yeah, and I nominated Luca as well, and I sit somewhere in the middle of all of you on this. I'm actually not sure. I don't believe he's going to end up ranked number 2. Also, he was ranked last season 27, and I don't believe he's going to be 27. I think it'll be somewhere between those. And I looked at his stats today, and he's actually been playing about 4 minutes less per game. We're talking about a tiny sample size, but 4 minutes less. He's getting a couple of less rebounds. But what's boosting it is, as you said, how his turnovers are down by almost 1, and his free throw percentage is up by about 20% from 74 to 94. So I don't think he's going to.
That's unsustainable. Yeah.
No, for the reasons Dave said, I think you'll see. You can hope that maybe he might approach 80%, maybe high 70s, but even that jump from, say, 74 to, say, 78 is huge for his value given the volume of attempts. So I think that kind of improvement, and maybe he doesn't quite get to 4.5 turnovers, maybe it ends up being 4.1, something like that. Those things combined my hope as an owner of Luca would be to put him into maybe 8 to 12 sort of range, but maybe that's just hopeful thinking, but interesting thought.
I think blocks have been up 2 game sample size, but he's getting a block a game, so
yeah. I mean, if you looked at his numbers pre-season, his defensive stats have been sort of trending up a little bit over the last couple of seasons. So I mean, there's a reason. Look, I think for me he's one of those guys in that sort of top 10-ish mix, certainly the superstar kind of range, who's still on the up. He's a young guy. He's got potential scope for improvement still, I think. We've seen him come into training camp overweight the last few seasons, work his way back into shape during the season. And I think the fact that he's come off Eurobasket, he seems to have hit the ground running. I could really see an improvement, like a substantial improvement in his game. So, I'm buying a pretty significant Luka improvement this season. What about you guys? Buy or sell Luka improving?
The funny thing is, though, this happens every single year. Someone has a spike in some part of their fantasy game and we think it's going to sustain.
Sure.
I can agree with the logic that Luka may improve and it won't necessarily help his fantasy game. Free throw percentage changes are rare. They do occur. Big changes in turnovers would almost be counter-logical to the idea that he will improve as a player and suddenly become a lot more efficient.
Yeah.
I have great skepticism that he's going to maintain this turnover free throw rage that he's currently rocking.
That's a sell from Howie, I think. Nick, you're buying, I guess.
I reckon I'd buy him. I agree. The turnovers, if anything, I had to guess his turnovers will go up further than last season rather than down where they are now. I think his free throw percentage is likely to improve. Little bit of wishful thinking, how much improvement there is. I still think he's probably going to be a top 10, but obviously back end. And that would be a big improvement.
And I sit on the fence. I think halfway between what you guys are. There will be some improvement, but it's certainly not going to be rank 2.
Are we allowed to sit on the fence? Or is that allowed?
Well,
I think so.
I was hoping for some slightly hotter takes on that, but hey. All right, moving on to John Collins. Who's got Johnny Boy?
Yeah, that was mine.
Go for it, Shane.
I don't have my notes in front of me, but he's ranking in the top 10 somewhere. It meant someone might be up 6. Yeah. And I had a look at his stats, and a lot of it's small sample size theatre, things like just spectacular free throw percentage, not turning it over at all, and getting a lot of blocks. So
Lots of steals.
There's some regression coming, no doubt, but even some of the categories he's doing well in, rebounds and a few other things, I had a look back over his last 4 years or so, and some of the highs he's producing at the moment, he has produced before. So I'm on board with him having a really good year. And what I think's going on there is the new Atlanta Hawks probably with Dejounte Murray are probably running at a faster pace, and the current lineup is suiting him. So I reckon he's improving, but definitely not to this level.
I throw some things in there. I mean, as a Collins owner in our league, yes, I don't think a lot of the stats that he's producing right now are sustainable. But look, I think Atlanta have made a number of changes. They've traded out ball hoggy types, hunguses like Huerta. And who was the?
Did you see that?
who was the fellow that they traded to do Boston, who then did his knee? Gallinari.
Yeah.
So there have been a few guys that have gone out that that like to have never seen a shot that they didn't like to take. I think he's now the clear. Obviously, Trey is 1A on a tier by himself on that roster, but I do think that Dejounte Murray and John Collins are now sort of 2A and 2B. He's going to get all the looks that his heart desires, and he's a very efficient guy. He's always been a very efficient guy. Always shot more than 50% from the field.
I think Trey Young's assist numbers have been through the roof. It'd be pretty handy having a guy like Trey Young passing the ball to Dejounte. If you're the John Collins kind of floating over the offensive side for some alleys and tip jams, they'd be pretty handy guards to have there for you. I reckon Dejounte coming in there is going to really benefit a guy like John Collins. He's a phenomenal finisher.
Yeah, I think the opportunities there.
Off his own bat, doesn't really get hurt by the little guys.
Any thoughts on this, Howie?
Yeah, was it 3 seasons ago? Collins and Trey Young lit it up with the 1-2 pick and roll situations over and over again, and Collins averaged about 22 and 11, I think.
He did, yeah.
Last 2 years, he went back to what I considered much more normal for John Collins. So again, I see this as a bit of an early season small sample spike. I think, if anything, there's more mouths to feed in Atlanta, and unless Atlanta just continue this run and are one of the absolute beasts of the league, which is possible, unless that happens, I don't see John Collins continuing in this trend. I do see Dejounte Murray continuing in the trend he's in, because I just think he's that good a player.
All right, buy or sell, guys. Shan, you started this selling?
Well, I put him and Luka up for the same reasons where I wasn't sure, so I'm going to sit on the fence again.
Splinter bomb, Shan. Oh, God.
It's not fucking allowed.
Okay, well then sell, because I
Is
don't
it
see
a
don't
mild
see him
sell?
keeping any. Yeah, a mild sell. He's not
Just
keeping it
gonna
up to
spend all
this
your
level.
money on Luca.
I like it.
Mild sell.
All right, Nick. You?
Yeah, I love John Collins, but I reckon I'm going to sell. He's up 6 minutes a game in 3 games, so
Yeah.
I don't see him playing 36, just over 36 minutes a game, which he has in the first 3 games. So,
All right, Nick selling. Howie?
sell.
I'm a sell. I'm a muy caliente sell.
He's going the heavy sell. Heavy sell. He doesn't want anything to do with John Collins. All right. Tatum is mine, so let me just cue that up. All right, so do I think that Jason Tatum is going to average 34 points per game for the season and end as the number 1 ranked player in fantasy hoops? No, I don't. But look, I wish I could say yes as a Celtic supporter. Look, this is a little bit of a homer pick, but I genuinely do believe that this is his moment where he rises from star to superstar. I think players ascend in stages. Some players ascend in stages like this. We saw it from Steph, where he went from being a good point guard to taking a really big step up when Monte Ellis left, and he realised that it was his team to run and drive, and then took another huge step up in the 15-16 season when he became the skyfucker. So a similar sort of story with James Harden. Had a breakout when he moved to the Rockets, and then stepped up even further a few years later when he realised he could run ISO on every single possession and ignore the rest of his teammates. So look, Tatum's a happy-go-lucky type of character, a big kid in many ways. Second half of last season, we started to see that he realised he could do more than he had been. He's locked in and dominating. I think another big factor was the final series last season against the Warriors. One of the major factors in that series was Tatum just flat out getting outplayed by Steph.
That would have spurred him on, surely.
I think he realises now that this Celtics team is going to go as far as Tatum can carry it, and I think he's ready to step up to the next level. Guys,
I remember with Tatum, they kept saying for about the first 3 or 4 years of his career that he was only 19 years old every time he touched the ball. It was one of those things like the old
that was
Dirk
a thing.
Nowitzki for his entire career. Every time he touched the ball, they'd remind you that he's a 7-footer.
Did you know that Scott Pendlebury? Scott Pendlebury used to play basketball.
So apparently, Jason Tatum is still 19 years old. So he's got a lot of
growth.
The seasons ahead of him. So good luck to him.
Nice.
Yeah, whilst I don't necessarily think he'll be ranked 1, I think Jason Tatum's for real. Seeing him play so well probably doesn't surprise me much. Wouldn't be surprised. And I said in our first podcast that never got recorded that it's rare that a guy stays ranked number 1 more than 2 years, and Jokic would be the first in our time playing fantasy basketball, and that's about 22 years. So could Tatum dethrone Jokic as the number 1 ranked player? Possibly.
Yeah, there'll be a few people in that discussion, I think. But yeah, interesting.
I watched the first quarter of the Boston versus Orlando game just before we're recording tonight, and I think Jason Tatum had about 9 points in the first 5 minutes of the game and just looked fantastic. So I'd definitely buy in on Tatum. Being in the top, I think he's probably one of those guys that could break into the top 5 fantasy relevant players. He just needs a little bit to go his way from a statistical point of view, whether that's, a slump from Jaylen Brown at a crucial point of the season, which I don't think is likely, but those are the kind of things that could just give him a little bump up.
Little nudge.
Yeah, I'm buying.
Jan?
All right. I'll bring up, I'm not sure whether it's a stage-like improvement the way Dave's describing or whether it's more incremental. Where was he ranked last year? Ballpark. Really? I thought he got into the top 10.
I thought he did too. He's right at the back end of the top 10 from memory.
And anyway, he's not 1 at the moment. He's 3. I guess, don't get me wrong, I'm seeing all the things you guys are seeing, but I think he was back end of the top 10 last year, and I think everyone would have agreed for some incremental improvement coming. So what does that mean? If he goes up to rank 3 where he is right now, then that's a stage-like jump. But I would probably say he's definitely going to improve somewhere in that 4 to 7 or 8 range.
Yeah. So it's another mild buy from Shan. Howie, buying or selling? You said you were buying, right? Buying. I think we're all kind of at least mildly buying. Nice one. DSJ is also mine, so let me just pop off on this idiot. I wanted to throw him up as an example of the sort of early season horse shit that people can buy into from time to time. First of all, his numbers are clearly sustainable for multiple reasons. He's getting extra minutes due to LaMelo's injury, but he's also shooting. He's a career 40% shooter from the field who's shooting 55% at the moment. I mean,
100% from 3-pointers.
I mean, the regression
Fantastic.
there is absolutely inevitable. But beyond the numbers, this guy's had multiple opportunities over the years in different teams to prove himself worthy of sticking with major minutes in a rotation. He's failed every single time.
But you know what, Dave?
Yep.
Apparently, he's come into preseason really overweight a few times, and this year he's just in great shape. Like Luka Doncic, he's primed
preseason special. Yeah, I know. Like, maybe this time it's clicked for him. I'm not buying it. Is it worth persisting with him at least while LaMelo's out? Even in that scenario, I say no. I think he's due to throw up a sequence of 1 for 10 stinkers and play himself out of the rotation any day now.
Yeah, he's one bad game from being ranked 80. That's always the truth of this time.
So true. Guys.
Sell.
Sell.
Sell if you have a
Everyone's
if you bought him and you have him, you're selling.
Just I mean, if you can con anybody else in your fantasy league into taking this guy off you for any kind of value, then get rid of him. Cut bait. All right, who's on Fox?
Well, Fox was mine, I think. I don't know if anyone else nominated Fox as well. I like De'Aaron Fox. I like the way that his name is Aaron, but it's like Darren. And it's like Darren, which is a great Australian name.
That is a great Australian name. It's true.
I think he's an excellent player. I just see an unsustainable stat line. 31-7, something of that order. He's getting a lot of turnovers and he's getting all those meaty things. But this is also an interesting part of this time of the year where you have like stat inflation as well, where for some people that are putting up what looks like a mild stat line, which is ranking them in the 50s and 60s, that will eventually have them ranked in the 30s and 40s because stats are a bit overblown at this time of year. Small samples. Fox is a classic example of a dude just blowing up in the first couple of games. And whilst I think he's fantastically talented, there's a big difference between fantasy talented and NBA talented. As we know, we operate on a standard 9-cat roto, and in standard 9-cat roto, you can't avoid De'Aaron Fox is going to have low free throw percentage. He's going to have low 3-pointers made, which is a big hindrance as a point guard, and he's going to get a lot of turnovers.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, at the moment, he's inflated on the back of obviously unsustainable shooting. He's shooting 55% from the field. And
59, isn't it?
59 is crazy. And he's shooting way more threes than he ever has in his career, and I don't see that being sustainable either. So, yep.
And small sample size is him at 45% from three. So, yeah.
Selling Fox.
I remember the year Rondo got traded to Dallas, and the second or third game for Dallas, he hit 5 threes, and everyone was like, "Whoa, Rondo can shoot threes now!" And no, he couldn't.
I'm actually surprised Dazzler only gets, maybe I haven't been that much of a student of the fantasy. His blocks, I had a feeling he would have been close to at least getting a block a game at one point of his career. But just having a look at it now, the best he's done over a season is 0.6 blocks.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is not bad for a point guard.
No, that's fine. That's a good contribution. Yeah.
Oh, you don't really draft him for your
no.
You kind of hope that he can.
I mean, look, it's like other than Jokic, it's like a center averaging 4 or 5 assists per game. That can be gold from that position.
You guys are gonna be shocked.
Yes.
But I'm sort of sitting on the fence. I'm a mild sell. He's not going to be ranked 21 for sure. But you saw what happened last season when Halliburton went away. Suddenly he got to have all of the usage he wanted in the world, and you could tell he was a very happy man. And we're going to see that again this year. He's star 1A on this team, so I would expect him to rank slightly better this year than he has in previous years. He's pretty much every year he has one half of the year where he goes much better than the other. I'm not sure he's going to do that for the whole season this year, so I'm definitely a sell. But if you look at his typical ranks being more in the lines of in the 70s to 90s, I think you're going to see more like a rank maybe 50 this year, which would be a fair jump for him. But
I think that was factored into his ADP, though, right? People were expecting him to improve a little bit, yeah. The other thing to bear in mind here is that Sacto Kings are playing at the fastest tempo in the league, and that seems to be something that they're committed to. So, anyway, that plays into it. All right, selling, Shan selling, Nick's selling.
Short-term investment on.
Short-term investment on Fox.
No, I'm having a short-term investment. I'd buy him and I'd hang on to him for about a month, and then I'd be.
Then you'd be trying to sell him. Nice.
Yeah.
And how is definitely a sell.
A month is too long. A month selling Bitcoin too late.
Fair enough.
You got to get rid of the commodity while it's hot.
Fair enough. Wiggins.
Well, Wiggins. Who had Wiggins? I had Wiggins on my standard list, but someone's obviously got him in his top 2.
Yeah, I had Wiggins. Look, what is he ranked? 5th?
He's ridiculous at the moment. Yeah, he's massively.
So look, that's fantastic. Look, obviously, I've thrown him up there because he's ranking well, and I think he's ranking I don't think it's even. If anyone actually says that he'll get anywhere near 5th rank for the season, yeah, I'd be really surprised. Yeah, fantastic start. I like the guy. I like the way that he plays, but he is not anywhere near a top 20 player. So,
agreed.
Big factor at Golden State is the limited minutes currently for Draymond and Clay. And once that settles a bit, you're going to see Wiggins go back to a more normal usage, I think.
Yeah. They've got so many mouths to feed on that squad. I just can't see him, like, unless he sustains his unreasonable, percentages, then he's not going to stick at 5.
Well, what do we think he's ranked up there for? Looking at his stat lines, to me, free throw percentage is his field goal percentage is great. His defensive things that aren't really going to be impacted, unless his minutes get severely cut. But yeah, look, he's got 3 steals, 1 steal.
It's just kind of
one block and 1 block. So
it's kind of a little bit of everything, though, isn't it, Nick?
It's kind of like effort stats.
Yeah, it's a bit across the board. Like absolutely every single category is up on last year. That's going to he's going to come back to earth at some point, surely.
It's small sample size theatre for sure.
And he's only averaging 0.3 turnovers per game, so he's turnover inflated.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
All right,
he's been a good shot blocker in the past, averaging like 0.9 or 1. His steals have always been sub 1 for the most part. Maybe he got over 1 last year, 1.1 or 1.0. I see it coming back. Yeah.
So we're all selling. Anybody want a short-term investment?
Nah.
No.
Nope. I like it. All right, Tyler Hero. Who's on Tyler?
I think that was my other guy that I had there too. Just look, I'm loving what Tyler's doing. He's got he's always been light it up. Fill up the bucket.
I think this could be his chance.
He had 15 rebounds last game. So, what's with that? I don't think he's going to average that kind of thing. Something got into him that game. We were playing against Toronto so he got 15 rebounds in the second game of back-to-back games versus Toronto. So maybe someone got in his ear in the first game and said, mate, you got to go grab the ball or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a strange kind of stat.
Sam needs a hand on the glass. Yeah, look, again, I think, there's nothing there that jumps out at me as, other than perhaps the rebounds, as unsustainable or completely out of the realm of just, small incremental improvements that you would expect to see from a kid, going from, what is he, 22 to 23 years old. So, the scope for improvement in his game, and he's going to get the opportunity at Miami because, you've got he's starting, and you've got Jimmy Butler who wants to take shots, but the rest of the squad is pretty egalitarian. They're going to be happy for Tyler to take his share. Anybody else on Mr. Hero?
He did this last year. I owned him, right. And at the start of the season, he came out really hot. But the difference is this year he's starting. Another difference is this year Kyle Lowry's almost dead.
You killed Kyle.
So I think some things are working in his favour. He's going to have a better year for those reasons. But yeah,
I think their careers are on like ships in the night kind of thing. As Kyle's getting ready to think about being an assistant coach or just like hanging up the boots and going retiring somewhere. Tyler's getting better, and he's going to get more opportunities. He's overrated at the moment, obviously, small sample size, but I'd probably still buy into it a little bit.
Howie, buying, selling?
Where's he ranked right now?
Really high.
Yeah, he might be a bit too high. I
33.
reckon.
33?
33.
I think that's okay for him, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's okay. I think he's a pretty good player. I think this is his opportunity. They're asking him to shoulder a lot of the scoring. They don't have a power forward, so everyone has to crash the boards. And I reckon he's taking shots away from Adebayo, and I reckon they are losing though. They're 1-3, I think. So who knows? Adjustments to come. I'm not sure. I'm gonna pull a Shannon, do a very YouTube crowd friendly, mild. I don't know. Glass half full, glass half empty. I'm not sure.
All right. Cool.
Could be good. I'm a mild buy.
All right.
Moving on.
Moving on. So, guys, we're going to move on to the sell. Well, to the guys that have started poorly and perhaps need a little bit more pep in their step.
This is the thing again. When I chose mine, these were guys that are ranking poorly now, but I think it's almost certain they improve.
No, that's good. That's a strong argument. So I want to hear all of that. So it looks like my guys are up first. So let's go with Mobley. This guy's a bit of a watch for me. I'm expecting the dynamics of the team to change significantly once Darius Garland gets back. But in these early stages, Mitchell has been awful at getting Mobley involved in the offense. He's averaging nearly 4 shot attempts less per game than last year, from 12 per contest down to about 8. There have been a lot of stats thrown around about how Mitchell all but ignored Gobert on the offensive end in Utah. And this seems to be a bit of an ongoing pattern with him, failing to involve the bigs. Jared Allen's scoring is also well down on last season's numbers. Mitchell likes to penetrate off pick and roll, looking to score or hit the wings or corners for threes. Just seems to ignore the big involved in the pick and roll for whatever reason. So, maybe he just needs to adjust to having capable finishes at the rim, which he didn't have in Utah. And maybe this will come and it's just a small sample size thing. But in general, this squad in general is a major watch for me. There seem to be a lot of mouths to feed now. So I'm not sure whether Mobley's going to be able to still hit the numbers that he made last year. Defensive stats should be fine. I expect his rebounds to bounce back up again. I'm just not sure he's going to get involved on the offensive end as much as he was last year.
Can I jump in here?
Yeah, go for it.
So I'm a huge Mobley guy. I had him last year as a rookie from the draft all through the season and salivated over him. But in the lead up to the drafts this year, all of the analysts were just going bananas for Mobley. He was hot property in all of your mock drafts and everything, and they all wanted him.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of him struggling, he's ranked 94 at the moment. Last year he was only 82, and it's because of some significant categorical issues, particularly free throw percentage. Now, that's all the downside. On the plus side, I do love him, and I do think he's going to improve on last year. So I expect somewhere he's definitely going to beat this 94 rank that he's at the moment, but I think he's got a bit of a ceiling cap because of that free throw percentage and all of the stuff you were saying about the Cavs there and the mouths to feed, I think is true as well, Dave. So I expect him to improve, but not nearly to the level that other analysts were suggesting.
It's funny you mentioned the free throw percentage, because that's the one stat where he's really jumped up from last year.
Yeah.
Very small sample size, but 66 last year, 91.
I mean, that's sustaining his rank, honestly, because everything else is just way down. He's just not getting involved on the offensive end at all. I've watched a couple of their games, and it's not great.
Field goal percentage is also improved from 50 up to 56.
Yeah, but again,
the same amount of minutes. He's not getting it.
He's taking 8 shots and making 4. So that's like him, getting tip-ins on the offensive glass and stuff like that. It's just
easy
making his own offense. Yeah. Howie, any thoughts?
Doesn't he average like 2.7 turnovers or something at the moment?
Is that true?
I just wonder if there's just a learning curve that has to occur.
Oh,
it's
sure.
always the case with a new player, a ball-dominant player joining your club. My feeling is I haven't seen his usage figures. He's shooting a lot more. He's turnovering a lot more. I wonder whether his usage is similar. He's getting the similar kind of looks and is just adjusting.
It's down
from
significantly. 20.2 to 17.6.
That's not a huge reduction given the new scenario. They've now got 2 ball-hungry players, although Garland hasn't really played just yet.
Yep.
I think Mobley inevitably improves, if not this year, certainly next. I think he has to adjust to the new circumstances.
Yep, I like it. So are we buying him being this bad? Buying or sell? Sell means you think he's going to improve.
Sell,
Nick.
Sell makes going to improve.
My brain's kind of jumping around in knots when you say that, because I see all of these.
All right, wait. All right, let me flip that around then.
I'll sell.
So sell means that
He's going to improve.
He's going to improve.
Definitely going to improve.
He's definitely going to improve.
Yeah.
Jan thinks he's going to improve. Howie?
So I think I don't know whether I'm buying or selling. I really didn't follow what any of that meant. But what I will say that I think he's going to improve. So if someone else wants to sell him low, I would buy.
You'd be interested in buying him.
In which case I sell.
I'm sold.
I love it. Okay, Jokic. So this is another one of mine. Let me pull up this little spiel I have. And look, this is a little bit of a cheeky one because people probably don't know, but Nick bought Jokic in our league for a significant amount of money. We run an auction draft. I just think it's an interesting talking point here on buying into a guy at the very top end of the market. And he's currently returning about a $40 value on a $200 standard $200 auction, even though he's nearly averaging a triple-double and shooting amazing percentages. So I think it just shows that when you invest that much capital in a player, really doesn't take much of a downturn in their counting stats for them to end up being a little bit disappointing.
Fair call. I'll give you that. Look, I think he's going to be fine.
He's a star.
Everyone's buying or selling, however the logic works. Everyone actually thinks he's going to go quite well. He's having a shocker. He's ranked 7th in the league and almost averaging a triple-double. Like you said, some of us like to splash the cash around and make a bit of a scene and try and throw certain general managers off their game. Some of us also have a history of drafting the same player and like to bid other people up, and sometimes get stuck with the guy reluctantly. But
I don't know who you could. I don't know who you could possibly be referring to here, Nick.
I've got no idea. Yeah, no. He's he's a fantastic player, and I think everyone wants to see him go well. Do we think he'll go as well as $82 of someone's $200 budget? Probably not. But he's if you're gonna pin your hopes on a player, he's not a bad dude to start with. So
fair enough.
Yeah, I'll sell / buy.
This isn't the first time he started slow. He did this a few years ago. He ended up being ranked 1.
Yep.
I think he'll rise like the morning sun.
I think he will. I think he will too. Just wanted to give Nick a bit of a razz, that's all. Shane?
Agree with all of that. I'll be shocked if he's not ranked in the top 3 at a bare minimum.
But if he's ranked 3, that could still be a disappointment on what people...
I've seen enough that he's not the stone cold lock, should be the most expensive. Like, I think he is. He is. Like, if we had the draft again today, he should still go for the most, but I thought he was untouchable. Now it's like, I'm willing to wager he'll be top 3. So that's a downgrade for me. Yeah.
I mean, there are other guys on that team that like to shoot the basketball, and they've started well this season. So I doubt his usage is going to be quite as high as it was last year. But
as his wrist, there was all that talk about him early on, saying, Jokic's wrist, he could be really bad. I had people kind of giving me text messages saying, you hear about the injury.
Yeah.
Is that impacting? He's only getting just over 20 points. So
I mean, I wouldn't have thought so. Like, he's still shooting fantastically well. So
yeah, amazing percentages. So
all right,
what's he going at? 63.6.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right, so we're all saying that we're all buying an improvement from
we
Jokic.
all like Jokic.
Yeah, we all think he's going to improve from here.
Selling
an improvement. Anyway, Karl Anthony Towns, who's got this fella?
That was mine, and I'm just looking up his rank. It's 108.
Yes, he hasn't been good.
And everyone
was sick. He's recovering from an illness, and they said he was going to start slow.
Yeah, the reason I put him there is it's ridiculous that he's not in the top 100. But it's not only is it ridiculous, but we all saw the Gobert trade and suspected he was going to be impacted in some way. And it's a bit hard at this early stage to disentangle how much of it is that and how much of it is that illness is coming back from. So I don't think anyone buys him being anywhere near here, but those who were leaving him in other drafts to perhaps go early to middle second round might not have been wrong.
It's interesting that he's only got, of his 4 games so far, he has 1 steal and no blocks in 4 games.
His blocks have been trending down for a number of years. As a rookie, I had him as a rookie. I think he averaged over 2 blocks, and it's just been...
Not quite. He was 1.7 as a rookie, and then he's just been, as you say, he has been sort of sliding down for a while.
So that could be a trend, the blocks now, especially with Gobert there. I imagine he's going to play increasingly away from the basket.
Yeah, that's possible. My assumption pre-season was that Gobert's presence wouldn't affect his blocks, because I think blocks often come as from people rotating over as help defenders. So if Gobert is locking up the big centre down low, that gives Cat more license to release a little bit defensively and help defend a little bit more. But anyway,
when you said that, I did agree with it. But I also think a huge factor is the stretch 4 and stretch 5s in the NBA as well. I think it's much harder when you're a more power forwardy kind of player to block 3-point attempts unless you're Andre Kirilenko.
Yeah.
And all those inside blocks I think are going to be stationed primarily by the Starfield Tower.
Yeah, fair enough. All right.
Evidence kind of doesn't back this up, but you'd have to think if you're driving the ball in the lane and you're just going to know where Rudy is, and maybe that might let Cat off the hook a little bit. He might be able to get those more kind of deceptive blocks.
I thought that might happen.
Far. He hasn't got a block in
we'll
4 games, so
small sample size. Small sample size. All right, let's whip through some of these fast. I think we're all in agreement that Cat is going to improve from here. Yep. Certainly not going to end up ranked in the hundreds. All right, Anthony Edwards.
Yep, so he was my second one, and it's almost the same reasons, but magnified. His ranking is terrible. I can't get access to it at the moment, but I know his ranking is way off the charts, which is bizarre to me. In the preseason, I was all over this guy. I couldn't decide. I was thinking if I had to pick somewhere in the 20 to 24 range, I really wanted Anthony Edwards or Cade Cunningham. Turns out it would have been a bad pick either way, but Anthony Edwards
currently ranked 214.
So I've got to say, this is, in my mind, this has got to be small sample size, and he'll go on a run soon where he will just freak the hell out of us all. At least that's what I'm thinking.
I mean, he's a little bit inconsistent as well.
That's amazing. 214 for a bloke that's averaging 20 points a game, 2 threes,
sure.
8.5. It's a Russell Westbrook kind of effect that these percentages, turnovers.
Yeah. The free throw percentages percentage has been awful. Almost no steals and blocks, and he's averaging 3.8 turnovers a game. So you can understand why his ranking is so low. But small sample size.
It's fascinating because D'Angelo Russell is kicking ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's he ranked, Howie?
I don't know his rank off the top of my head, Shan, but he was 80 before today, and he had a blinder today. So I imagine somewhere around the 50-ish mark. I don't have it in front of me.
Yep, fair enough.
It's all percentages and turnovers for Anthony Edwards, where he's drowning at the moment. Well, actually, and the defensive categories. So he's doing nothing in steals, blocks, field goals, free throws, and turnovers. That's what it is. So early season struggles, I think.
But he's a little bit inconsistent. He'll have a massive game soon, turn it all around. So we're all thinking that, obviously we all think Anthony Edwards is going to end up ranked higher than 214. What do we think of his preseason ranking around the 20 mark? Do we think he's still highly likely to improve on that, or do we think that's?
I never bought that rank. There is a trend in fantasy NBA circles to exaggerate how good a young player is going to improve, and I thought that 20 to 25ish range was always too high for him anyway. I don't think the slow start matters very much. I can see him moving into the 40 to 50 range.
All right, Kristaps Porzingis.
Well, that was one of mine. Kristaps Porzingis does a lot of things well and a lot of things badly. He doesn't stay on the court, but when he is on the court, he is a very highly ranked fantasy player in a 9-cat standard league. He gets blocks, he gets threes, and lowish turnovers, and that is a recipe for a very high rank. Currently, things are not functioning on that wavelength for him. I expect it to come roaring back at some point, and he will rise in the ranks to a top 25 player just in time to be shut down for the months of January and February.
I think you're right. How do you top that analysis? Fantastic, Howie. I like it. Anybody else? Thoughts on Porzingis?
I don't think he can play enough games for me to have any real faith in him. Enough to draft him with any real confidence. So, look, the last time he got over 60 games in a season was in 2016, 2017. So I'm not confident he's digging himself out of this hole that he's in. I think he'll get halfway out of there. He's obviously a better player than what's out there. We all like watching him play the game when he's on the court, but fantasy is about numbers and total numbers. So yeah.
Yep, indeed.
I'm the Porzingis owner, so I'll just quickly add that I agree with everything you've just said. I think it'll come down to injury luck with him. I think I'm praying that he's a bit lucky this year with injuries. We will see. But he's ranked 57 at the moment, and I think that's largely a couple of things. It's just a small sample size with the free throw percentage sitting at 57. He'll come back to being an 80% free throw shooter, which will, in and of itself, will bring his ranking somewhere into the third, which is fine. And then the other thing is he's not scoring much. So that's more interesting for Washington. They've got a lot of guys who like to put the ball up this season.
Yep.
When you've got Beal, you've got Will Barton, and you've got Rui Hachimura, who's not much of a player, but he does like to jack the ball up a lot. So it'll be interesting to see whether he gets the sort of points that maybe I was hoping when I drafted. But he'll definitely improve.
All right, we're running a little bit long, so let's whip through these kind of quickly. I want to do Kawhi because I want to give Howie a chance to go on a 5-minute rant. So who had Kawhi Leonard?
It wasn't me because
no, it wasn't you. Who put?
Now, that seems about right to me.
Who put Kawhi up?
I just did the classic. I had myself on mute. Yeah, I nominated Kawhi. So look, I don't know. I think maybe somewhere deep down I kind of nominated him because I wanted to hear how he give his observations on Kawhi as a player and as a man, and you know, just tell us what you think.
What do you think of his character?
Very well.
What do you think of his character and his? Yeah.
In the series American Horror Story Hotel, the character played by the brilliant Sarah Paulson. Is that right? No, that doesn't sound right. I think her name's Sarah Paulson. She plays a character called Heroin Sally, and it's a ghost that haunts the hotel, smoking a cigarette and, you know, overdosed on heroin in her life. And I like to refer to Kawhi as, and the world does, as load management Sally. Clippers fans, this high energy. They tell me he's this GOAT, he's this superstar. And it's like, when have you ever seen him play a full game? How do you know if someone's the GOAT if they never play a full game or a full season? You know, Skip Bayless goes berserk about LeBron every single week, and he praises Kawhi Leonard. And to see the season start and to see him play 24 minutes and, oh, shit, I'm as tired as fuck now and I have to sit out the next game. And then you come back, oh, I can only do 20 minutes today as well. Oh, my God, why does anyone think this guy's an NBA player's arsehole? Yes, when he gets on the court, he's very good when he gets on the court. I understand if you get injured and you can't get on the court, no worries. But what are you preserving yourself for, bro? Clippers have 0 championships, and you're preserving yourself for something. What exactly? Someone explain it to me. Kawhi Leonard, good player when he plays, which is almost never.
I love it. I don't think we can say anything else on than that.
Thank you, Luke. That's what I wanted.
Yeah, you did
Thank
it.
You.
A couple of minutes on Ben Simmons. Whoever raised him before we kick off.
Look, I'll be quick. I was a Ben Simmons nomination. It was in response specifically to a Roto World blurb today that said we will soon see Ben Simmons on waiver wires. That they've been talking about his comeback for months, apparently, even though the season's only been going for a week. And he's failing to live up to this. My call is for patience. He's averaged 6 rebounds, 7 assists in his first 3 games after a year and a half out of basketball. I think that's trending in the right direction. Yes, he's bad now. I think he's going to get there. If you own Ben Simmons, do not drop him to the waiver wire. Be patient.
Okay, look, we're going to skip over Joel Embiid. Sorry, Joel. Legend of a player.
Everyone knows he's going to go a lot better than he is.
Yeah. True.
No need to even discuss Joel at this stage.
All right, so let's move on. We've got our third segment of the pod coming up. Chan, if you can flick that over for us. So this is guys that are on our radar. So guys that are perhaps not quite rosterable, or perhaps only just on the borderline of being rosterable in standard Yahoo leagues, but people to kind of note down on a list somewhere for you to keep an eye on and potentially come back to in the future. So 2 Hornets players are mine. This is primarily about situation for me. Obviously, Miles Bridges is gone for who knows how long, maybe for the entire season, maybe for even longer than that if he gets if he gets convicted. There's some pretty horrible circumstances around that. Mason Plumlee is a placeholder at best. There's major opportunity in the Hornets front court. Nick Richards' per minute production is outstanding right now, but it's a tiny sample size. I'd say he's definitely rosterable in Yahoo standard leagues, even if it's just on speculation. PJ Washington seems incapable of earning more than 27 minutes a game under any coach. There are minutes there to be had. The front court's waiting for McDaniels, for Richards, or Mark Williams to inherit those minutes. Now, Mark Williams is a fella who's, not quite there yet, but we know his prototype. He's a pogo, athletic center, vertical spacing. He can hop off a pick at the rim and dunk. We've seen guys like Clint Capella, like Time Lord for Boston. Players like this, they thrive in the league, and it's only a matter of time before Mark Williams gets there. He's a high level rim protector. Loved him coming out of Duke. He's my guy. So he may not be one for this season, although watch out for later in the year if he starts to earn some minutes, because he's going to be a per minute guy as well. He's going to rebound. He's going to block. He's going to finish at the rim. That's it for
make a quick Nick Richards prediction.
Yep.
He's currently the top added guy on transaction trends on Yahoo.
Yep.
Almost double the next guy, Precious Achua. And he's not owned in our league. And I will bet when Charlotte play New York in a couple of days' time, if he has a half decent game, he'll be gone in our league. Yeah. So
I like it. All right, two of you nominated Walker Kessler. I think, Howie, you said that you had a little burst on this that would get everybody ready to pick him up immediately. So let's go.
Well, he's just a fantasy-friendly game. He's got the Mitch Robinsons about him. He's going to get tons of blocks. He's going to get almost no turnovers. He's going to get 60+, 65+% from the field. That all equates to a very high-ranking guy. I don't know about his free throw. I think is it maybe 69, 70, which is not great. It's going to be a very small sample size. If you like Mitch Robinson, you won't believe that Walker Kessler is not Mitch Robinson.
All right, I like it. Anybody else on Walker Kessler?
Yeah, I had
like
him. Go, Nick.
No. I'll just quickly say, yeah, I like him. I haven't seen enough of him to actually say, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make a bit of room and bring him in straight away. But I think he's one of those guys who maybe next year could be quite a useful guy. If he finishes off the year well, he might actually get quite a bit of hype. Playing preseason, everyone gets really excited at that time. So yeah, I'm not going there yet, but yeah, I believe it.
Yep.
I'll join Howie on the hype train with Walker Kessler here for all the reasons he said. But I'll go harder than Nick. It won't be next year. It will be at some point this year. Walker Kessler will be a league changer, maybe not league winner, but he'll be a league changer for someone in the second half of the year when the Jazz stop playing Kelly.
Trade out all of their
doing
players.
Too well.
Yeah. I believe
move
this.
him out, and he will. Some person in your league who's sitting on 4 in blocks will suddenly jump up to 8 or 9 because of this guy.
Yep.
Anyone who's watching, you're planning your fantasy season. I grabbed Mitch Robinson in his rookie season after All-Star.
I remember that.
A distant fourth to almost winning it. I came a close second, and it was all on the back of Mitch Robinson. It's possible Walker Kessler could do something similar this year.
All right, moving on. Trey Murphy.
Yep. So he was mine, and I didn't even know whether he warranted a place on this because he's owned in our league, and I imagine he's getting owned in a hell of a lot of leagues. A lot of that was triggered for some people when Ingram went down with a concussion.
Yep.
So he's definitely a short-term hot pickup. He's got a really beautiful fantasy game, very similar to Cam Johnson from Phoenix in that
I like that comp. Yep,
his ranking is held afloat by 3-pointers, lack of turnovers, and then not hurting you anywhere else. So he's going to be a rankings darling, and if you don't give a shit about turnovers, you won't value him so highly. But this guy can shoot like nobody's business and is going to get a ton of threes, and maybe if Ingram's out for 3 games, it might be enough to just guarantee going forward he gets 2 or 3 more minutes than he otherwise would have.
Like it. All right, so I might have to hand back my NBA hipster card, not being 100% sure on this guy's first name. Is it Santi Aldama? All right, nice. I get to retain hipster status. Who's got Aldama?
I haven't. I nominated him for this segment. He's one of those guys. I think Shan mentioned earlier on. You can see these kind of adding trends. I've been kind of watching him. I haven't been bold enough to pick him up just yet. But if he plays a few more games like he has, I dare say there'll be a lot more ads. Seems to be rebounding very, very well. Consistent shot blocking. He gets around to steal a game, and he seems to be getting a lot of baskets at a pretty high field goal percentage. So there's not a lot to really hate about what he's doing. And his minutes are quite high. He's playing at Memphis. I feel like he's probably going to be one of those guys who's actually, quietly useful. So from a fantasy point of view, that's pretty good from a someone who's center eligible. So I'd be quite happy to kind of see him on your team as you maybe a util spot or something like that, just to kind of round out some of the big guy stats.
Nice. Anybody thoughts on Santi Aldama before we move on to Tari Eason, our last fella?
I don't know. Reminds me of John Conchar as well from the same team. Good for a bit. Won't keep it going.
Might drop off.
Yeah, I'll just add to what Howie's saying there. I'd go a little bit harder than good for a bit. He's ranked 60 at the moment, and I kind of don't think that's going to change much. I think that's until Triple J comes back. So this is a very short term, but in that short term, he's going to be really good and currently already is really good. But when Triple J comes back, your only hope for this guy remaining relevant would be if they started weaning Adams off, giving him less minutes and playing Triple J and Aldama more, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. So
yeah, fair enough.
Short-term ad.
I wouldn't imagine that'll happen. Yeah.
All right, Tari Eason.
Yeah, another one of my guys that I kind of put up there. Look, there's been a lot of hype about this guy.
Just a little bit.
Went a little bit too hard too early. And
massive preseason.
Him a rookie of the year candidate or the number one rookie. Forget Paolo
Paolo Banchero,
But look, I was a little bit more conservative, and look, I'll wait for someone to potentially go cold on him, and then I'll just jump on it within a heartbeat. I'll pick him up and gladly stash him at the end of my side. I think he's got a lot of potential.
Nick, you know that at the moment. You know that we're not playing in a keeper league, right? I just thought I'd throw that out there, bro.
Yeah. Can we fill anyone who's potentially listening in on the what's going on here? Shan picked him up, talked him up. Yep, Tari Eason's a gun, and then dropped him, and I immediately picked him up, and then started gloating about how good he is and how I would never have dropped him.
He had a good game today.
Time will tell. That's one of those ones. I like Tari. I feel like he actually could be pretty good, but he'll be one of those guys that I might drop, and one of you guys will pick up again too. But I think you'll be kind of up and down in terms of fantasy relevance until he starts getting 25 minutes a game, which is about 6 more that he's getting at the moment.
All right, guys. Anything to say before we sign off? Any more slander to throw out on NBA players? I mean, we can't top that Kawhi. That little burst there from Howie, that was
Low
brilliant.
Management, Sally.
That honestly may get this podcast sued. It is possible.
Play and I'll shut up. Give me minutes and I'll shut up.
I like it. Anything else, guys?
Nah, all good.
I'm just thinking maybe we should do a segment in the next couple of podcasts on players that we have a unnaturally strong opinion on. One way
I like it.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
That's
All right.
true. I could do a thing on Carlisle for that episode.
you shot on him.
Yeah, you already shot your load, bro. All right, that'll do us for this first podcast, first/second podcast. Thanks everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give us a thumbs up or a rating or whatever it is that you do on your service that you're listening to us on. If you didn't enjoy it, then why the hell are you still watching? But we'd love to see you give us a comment and let us know what you think we can improve on. What you'd like to see change, any ideas for new segments for us. We'll be back with another podcast before you know it. Goodbye.